I just wanted to say that this is a very informative podcast because I did not know any of this stuff was happening. So thanks.
This is what we do. We get our listeners and we get them on the podcast. People who haven't listened to the podcast, we get them on the podcast and then they listen to it. And they're like, oh, this is actually a nice podcast.
Oh, there is so much that happens. There is so much happening in cricket.
Yeah. Oh my God, so much cricket is happening.
This is a good podcast.
No.
KL Rahul.
Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of Bits and Pieces, your friendly neighbourhood cricket podcast, where we pay attention to the most important on-field events of the week, like auctions, ads and Twitter drama, and the finer nuances and in-depth details of this game that we love, like Charu Sharma. I'm your host for this week, KRT. On today's episode, we have with us our host from the previous episode, Nitin Sundar. Say hi, Nitin.
Hello. Hi, Karthik.
Hello. We also have musician, editor, and everything else in between. And I keep forgetting cricket fan, Kaustubh. Say hello, Kaus.
Hi Karthik. Finally, I'm referred to as a cricket fan and not someone who just hates KL Rahul all the time.
Finally, yes. Next up, satisfying our GPE, Gopal Krishnan's per episode quota for today. Back on the show, we have... No, not Sunil Shetty. You're thinking about Gopi Kishan. We have our friendly neighborhood crypto expert, Praveen Gopal Krishnan, PGK. Hi, PGK.
Thanks a lot, Karthik. Let me just say, as someone who's called Karthik, you have a gall to talk about quotas of common lists.
I just compared you to Anna. I compared you to Sunil Shetty. I think I deserve more praise for this, but anyway. And making his debut on the podcast, a man with a repertoire as varied as A.B. de Villiers' wagon wheel and a LinkedIn profile to match, we have Abhishek Madan. Say hello, Madan.
Hi everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Karthik. By the way, can you able to hear me?
We are able to hear loud and clear. And I just want to say that having PGK and Madan both on the same show allows us to finally make our Madana Gopal joke. Catch my point? But also, by the way, Madana Gopal is also one of the umpires for the ongoing India-West Indies T20 series. So there is a cricket connect. I made sure there was a cricket connect for this.
Superb.
All right, let's get into it. Where do we start? Oh my God, there was so much cricket action this week. And by action, obviously, I mean Twitter. And I think most of that seems to have happened in the past 2 days. But before we jump into that, maybe we should actually just go over some of the actual on-field cricket that's been happening. So by my count, let's see what's been happening. We had the South Africa-New Zealand test, which concluded, I think, within 7 sessions. We have the India-New Zealand women's ODIs, which are going on. We also have the India-West Indies men's T20s. We have the T20 World Cup qualifiers. There's Ranji Trophy. And in the middle of all this game is news to me. Do you guys know Australia and Sri Lanka are playing a T20 series? And apparently they played 4 matches already. So take your pick.
Yeah, we went through this last week as well. In the middle of all the nonsense that we were talking, suddenly Mohan Krishnamurthy said, hey, stop all this rubbish. You have silly auctions and stupid quizzes going on. In the middle of which there is a bilateral series between Australia and Sri Lanka, which nobody is watching. That's exactly what he said.
I mean, there's just been so much action. Anybody want to weigh in on any of those?
It's like nature is healing, man. Like from sitting in pandemic with having to watch highlights of cricket games to there are so many games happening, we can finally decide to not watch some cricket. So it feels good.
By the way, Karthik actually listed out a bunch of cricket and he left out the Bangladesh Premier League. So we have actually lost the 4 people from Bangladesh who were listening to this podcast.
No, he has left out all the franchise leagues. So, there's the Bangladesh Premier League. PSL had the other Twitter drama that, we're probably going to refer to. So, I think we should jump into that first. If, screw all the actual international cricket that's happening. Basically, there was a payment dispute between, or alleged payment dispute between James Faulkner and the PSL. So apparently the PSL pays all athletes 70% in advance before the tournament starts, and after the tournament is done, people get paid their remainder of the amount. He alleges that he never got paid, so he gets into a proper dispute with some official from the PCB. He gets into an argument. He's angry. He leaves the meeting, throws his bat and his helmet into the hotel chandelier. Okay. There is a photo of this, okay? Both of these things are genuinely stuck in the chandelier. It's a very, very strong chandelier. I don't know how...
Oh, they're stuck in the chandelier. That's fantastic. We really need to dig up that picture.
It has not fallen. Like, I would assume when this happens, it'll like cause, like, things will shake or whatever. It is like lodged there, like tight. And someone has taken a photo. It's gone viral. So this happens. Like, he's like, I'm done. He catches a flight, goes home. I'm not playing this anymore. He leaves
his bat. He leaves his bat and his helmet and goes home.
Yeah. Bat, helmet. I don't think anybody can get to it, for one thing.
This is the exact opposite of what happens when you were playing cricket as a kid, right? Where you take the bat. In this case, now you're like throwing the bat. Like, you keep the bat, you keep the helmet. Also, I am going home.
I can imagine Sachin going to this Pakistani hotel and going, wear helmet on the chandelier also.
I think the chandelier is carrying the bat in this instance. But anyway.
You know what? This is exactly what James Faulkner did a few years back in Bangalore in an ODI game where he hit a 50-ball 100 against India. That day he smashed the living daylights out of the Indian bowling. That happened to be the last game of the series. So after that he actually got a flight. But I think he took his bat and his helmet with him the last time. He didn't leave it, stuck into Ishant Sharma's face or something.
I mean, that time he smashed the living daylights. This time he smashed the lights. That's the only difference.
Nicely done.
Well done. But I'll actually give a little more context. So, a lot of what Kaustav said is correct, except that very strangely for the PSL, the payment terms are not signed with the PSL itself, but they're signed with the PCB. So it is the PCB that gives you the 70% upfront. And so it turns out then what happened was once he made this entire hue and cry and he walked away, a lot of people on Twitter and online were like, this is it. We all knew that this was an unprofessional league. We all knew that they don't pay people on time. And then, of course, the PCB was like, sir, please wait. We'll come out with a statement very soon. And they finally come out with a statement. And the statement is a work of art, okay? Because the statement is essentially a place where they are taking jabs, but at the same time, it's that statement that's written when you know that you are completely in the right, but you decide that, okay, I can lob a few bombs at him as well. So they start off by saying in the statement that without any regard to James Faulkner's previous actions that he's conducted in his past and his history. So there itself, you're like, oh, okay. They're saying, forget that. Okay, let's talk about just this. So apparently what happened was they said that the thing is, whenever you sign this contract, 70% gets paid upfront, and he gave a bank account and he said, this is my bank account detail. They said, okay, no problem. And it's a bank account based in London, it seems. So then they basically transfer the 70% fee to him. And then after that, now he's basically come in and said, no, that bank account was actually not the right one. There is another one. This is the one in Australia. And according to the PCB statement, he said, now you transfer it again over there. So the PCB statement is like, see, this guy is asking for double payment. How can we do the same thing twice in two places? And so James Faulkner gets really upset. We said, we tried to explain it to him. We tried to tell him, listen, we cannot pay you twice. And he said no, and he walked away and he destroyed the chandelier. And then they also add later in the statement, in the airport also he misbehaved. He fought with someone. So you're like, okay. So basically what they've done is they've just kept calling someone at the airport. Hey, that Faulkner is there. No, just say something to him. Just say something so that we can say that in the airport also he misbehaved. So yeah, it's a very strange turn of events.
I think my favorite take of this whole thing was some reply guy on Twitter basically saying, this is all a big IPL drama. This is an IPL controversy. Shadyantra by the IPL to show the PCB and PSL in bad light. And so they have paid James Faulkner to orchestrate this drama.
But the question is, to which bank account did they pay him? How did this even happen, by the way? I wonder. So he has a bank account in Australia, which is where he collects his money generally. But somehow he's also given them an English bank account. I think he probably gave them his equivalent of a PAN card or something that he created 20 years back. And that is linked to some English bank account he created, which he probably doesn't remember. And Pakistan clerical staff, without actually checking anything, has just sent the money already to that English bank account, which Faulkner probably does. He doesn't have the debit card for it also anymore. So I think that somebody has to go and actually find that money now.
I think I know what happened. I'll tell you exactly what happened. Remember when we were kids and we used to wake up and look at the scores in Australia? The wickets are before the runs. So I think Faulkner has done something there. He's basically put some digit before the thing. That's basically what's happened.
No, guys, it's not that at all. Have you seen Faulkner? Faulkner, if you see, is like this tall guy with like a mustache. He looks exactly like that Captain Russell guy from Lagan. Okay, he literally wanted Dugna Lagan. That is what happened.
Guna Lagan, that's it.
He wanted Dugna Lagan. That's all. They're like, no. And he left.
But
I think what happened was that the money went to like some desi guy who lives in London. And that guy was like, Modi ji ke 15 lakh aa gaye.
By the way, speaking of large sums of money being transferred and people walking out, it also happened in the IPL this week. So turns out we got news that Simon Katich, who is was part of the SRH extended think tank, looks like he stormed out of the thing because the auction didn't exactly go how they had planned, if they had planned for it.
I didn't know Simon Katich loved the original auction host that much, that he would storm out of the IPL just because the host had to change.
Yeah, I think basically the story here was apparently they had game planned and made an entire spreadsheets and all these things. And then obviously, Sunrisers got to the auction table and then they were like everything out the window. They started bidding.
Baad mein gaya spreadsheet.
पिच को निकालो गेम से भाड़ में गया पिच 20 विकेट निकालना.
And Simon Katich basically said, I cannot deal with this, I cannot able to, and then he just left in a huff. So I guess that also.
They have a squad of I think 11 bowlers.
On the topic of Simon Katich, though, I always wonder if a white guy named Simon in India, someone eventually will say, "Go back, Simon."
Oh, now this all makes sense. You know why Simon actually wanted to pick a bunch of people in the auction. Every time he was giving them advice, but he was not saying Simon says. So nobody was listening. They ended up that okay. Now this all makes sense, and then they finally said, "Go back, Simon."
Right. So it's a really unusual and a very strange team. So if you see what happened over the last IPL with David Warner, right? There are multiple people who have said that whatever happened with David Warner and and Sunrisers was for non-cricketing reasons, right? 2-3 people have said this around Sunrise, and I really don't know what that means. Like, they say that, oh, he was the captain, then after that you're like, oh, he's not the captain, he's no longer a player, and it's not for cricketing reasons at all. So clearly there's something going on there that we don't know. But the thing that I always remember Sunrisers for is, they were the ones who were pumping up Mumbai when they were bidding on Ishan Kishan, right? So I think Mumbai hoped to get Ishan Kishan at like some 8 crore, 9 crore something, and then the ones who were like really like egging them on until the very end were Sunrisers. And finally the end, when Mumbai gets, there's this video on like Twitter where finally when Mumbai gets Ishan Kishan at like a ridiculous price of like 15.5 crores, you can see the Mumbai team, yes, they're all pumping each other, and then you can see the Sunrisers team, okay, good, our job is done here, let's continue, go away with our life. So I can see what's going on.
There was this video of Kumar Sangakkara, right, sitting in the Rajasthan dugout, and he was, I think, signaling to Muralitharan or someone else in one of the, I said dugout, in one of the other tables, and he was asking them to bid up. I don't know which player, but he was actually asking them bid up. I think this was again one of the bigger teams going after someone, and the smaller teams increasing the auction price. Good fun.
Like, there was another version of this that happened, right? Like, I think Arjun Tendulkar was the second last or the last player to be bid on, and he had a base price of about 20. And it's assumed that the teams have an understanding that nobody will bid for him and Mumbai will pick him up. And I think some guy from Gujarat Titans or something did not get the memo, and when his name went up, the paddle went up, we want him for 25. Okay, so because he had masks, you could not tell how visibly pissed Akash Ambani was. Okay, like, and the whole room is looking at the Gujarat Titans table going, what happened? Like, why are you bidding for it? Okay, so like, sorry, Akash and puts his paddle up again. Yeah, I'll take him for 30. And then he laughs and giggles, but I think because it's a mask, you can't really tell that he's like, bro, you didn't follow the script, man.
I think, by the way, speaking of Gujarat Titans, they have the grand event of the IPL this evening, I think. The logo unveil of the Gujarat Titans.
I think it should be a watch, like Gujarat Titan watch. Just to screw around with everyone, they should put a Casio watch. That is confuse everyone.
I think it'll still make more sense than the Lucknow Super Giants logo, but yeah.
Adobe is filing for bankruptcy after seeing that logo.
Yeah.
No, so they announced that it's going to be the first reveal of a logo on the metaverse.
Yeah, in the metaverse.
Okay. Yeah, and like how many this is like one of those like cricket for stat qualifiers, minimum 200 runs, at least 20 appearances. Like this, like it's like it is the first logo reveal for a sports team on the metaverse. Like, how many things do you need to make a headline?
Actually, anything you can do right now on the metaverse and it will be the first. Right? First time somebody sneezed on the metaverse. It's not yet happened, I'm sure. So somebody will do it. So you actually don't need cricket for level qualifiers for metaverse at the moment.
All
Anyway.
I know is that I think the logo is just going to be something grandiose. Okay, it's going to say that, okay, because remember, like the thing about Gujarat and is that Ahmedabad, biggest stadium in the world. Okay, we are going to have the biggest auction ever. We are going to do first in the metaverse. It's going to be something around like extremely grandiose, where they're going to have like maybe this big statue and they'll keep like this little people below and say, these are the other teams. This is the Gujarat Titans. We are up there. So I just feel like it's going to be something really ridiculous that way. Or who knows, it could be a watch.
I would just like to remind everyone that the Titans technically lost against the gods in Greek history. So they've literally picked the losing side as the name of their team. Like Zeus is in Mount Olympus because he destroyed the Titans and got Mount Olympus. So, yeah.
Okay, Milan, who do you like more, Pujara or Rahane?
Rahane.
Why do you like Rahane more than Pujara?
Because he bats better.
In what way does he bat better than Pujara?
He bats better in a way that he hits more sixes and more runs.
Do you know that the Indian team has dropped both Rahane and Pujara from the team?
No.
Are you sad about that?
Yeah.
So we selected the team for the tests for Sri Lanka, and there are some interesting names that are not there.
Actually, so no Rahane, no Pujara, no Ishant, no Saha, of course.
How come nobody's talking about the fact that Rohit Sharma is now all format captain? Why is that not the first thing people are leading with? It's like, there is no Ishant Sharma, there is no Pujara. Like, why? Like, Rohit Sharma has finally been given captaincy, the one thing that everybody wanted. It's finally happening. It's not like, and like the first thing people discuss is like, bro, like we don't have Pujara or Rahane. Like what? Like think bigger. Like what? Like, what is wrong with people?
I think, everyone should be happy about the fact that KL Rahul has not been made the full-time test captain. That's for sure. And then, yes, also Robro becoming captain. But I was hoping to actually check this before we recorded. When was the last time India played a test match without either of Pujara, actually without both Pujara and Rahane in the 11? Must be quite a while back.
It's apparently 2011-12, yeah.
I think since the time Rahane made his debut, which must have been around then, I'm sure there's not been a single test match where both have missed out. So yeah, it's definitely the change of guard. The next era sort of begins, and it's sad that this was sort of a half era also. It's like Rahane and Pujara. Kohli, of course, was pretty much establishment beyond a point, but Rahane and Pujara have gone through being the bulwark of that middle order for an entire generation without ever being, yes, they're there and they are the solid fellows and we will miss them when they go. They've gone and people are like, okay, they're gone, good.
I agree. I think that's a very important point to make, right? I think two things. One is we were like the last bulwark we had before this, like the previous generation, right? It was actually there. Like when you had Dravid, you had that entire middle order. It was very clear when we moved on from that. It was like, okay, this is the thing. And I don't think they ever really established themselves in, that light, obviously. And then I also saw like there was some tweet yesterday that was saying that let's give Pujara his due. He played a lot of difficult innings on difficult tracks and all that sort of thing, which is all true. But I think if you look back in 5 years or 10 years, it's going to be sort of like a Graham Hicks story on steroids, right? It's going to be like, oh, he had everything, but we don't quite talk about him in that same, tone of reverence, right? There's always going to be the thing of something missing. Like there's, it's kind of sad.
No, I actually think this is a consequence of the current era of batting, right? Because now we are going through, as Jared Kimber calls it, it's like a fast bowling pandemic. So I don't think if you look at all the teams across the world, all test playing nations across the world, who are the people in the batting order at least in the middle order, whom you look at and say, yeah, these guys have established themselves and these are the people whom we can trust under all conditions? It's not there. In England, it's just Joe Root. In India, it is Kohli. In Australia, it is Steve Smith. And now Labuschagne of late. New Zealand, Kane. Yeah, maybe Ross Taylor, but he's not there anymore. So I think this is essentially a situation where because bowlers have gotten so good in the current era, people are looking at their batsmen and it's very hard for batsmen to like establish themselves as you cannot replace me at all with anyone better than me. I don't think that's happening now. And I feel like that's the biggest contributor more than anything else.
Which is why Ishant Sharma must be very, very pissed off because we are going through, as you said, a fast bowling pandemic.
Of all the people, he should be the one most pissed off. But
Also because he has been bowling better than he has ever been bowling, and he still can't make it into the India squad, which is just a sign of how better everyone else has also gotten during that time.
So my question is, like, I don't watch a lot of cricket, so this is a very genuine question. Like, all the good batsmen we see right now are sort of these, heavily tattooed, muscular, sinewy dudes who will come and smash the ball and all of that, right? They come with a sort of, stock aggression. It's built into them. But the middle order job is very different. The middle order job is one engineering manager job. You have to put in all the hard work. When the things are going down, you have to do work and all of that. And like, it's not glamorous and shit. So do we have anyone who is willing to be a non-glamorous middle order batsman and not have these tattoos and muscles?
Do we have in this typical Bombay style khadoos? Do we have a khadoos? Do we have someone who will just come, camp out, don't care about what it looks like, don't care about, all I care about is accumulation. Stay at the crease, get the runs.
Who was that? Who was the quintessential, prototype of this type of batsman in the previous era? Because you had Tendulkar, Dravid, Ganguly, Lakshman, right, at one point in time. And none of them actually subscribed to this, engineering manager definition of a middle order batsman.
Hey, Kumble, man. Kumble was that guy.
Kumble.
Boss, I'm telling you, if Kumble wasn't a cricketer, he would be engineering manager only.
No, like that was a myth that always perpetuated in college, man. Like Kumble is the true engineer because at 40 he raises his bat. He knows the value of 40, and I'm like, I have never seen that happen in my life. Like, who told you this?
This is like Bharat's tweet, no? That before Ashwin goes to bowl, he gives the umpire his cap and his TCS lanyard. So he takes his TCS identity card off, he gives him his cap, and then he goes to bowl. This is quite
unfortunately,
brutal.
our engineering managers all seem to be spinners like Ashwin or fast bowlers like Kumble. We don't have batsmen in the middle order, basically.
So I don't necessarily mean camping out and just accumulating balls like Pujara. I think both VVS and Dravid had a sort of patience to their play. They scored runs, but they had patience also. Like, I don't know who has patience now in whatever. In our current roster.
The problem also is in the current roster, because the likes of like Rahane and Pujara have been given such a long rope. Other people have been given few opportunities, not no opportunities, but like when you said like you need a proper Mumbai Khadoos person, like Shreyas Iyer is like what pops up to mind. He did reasonably well in the New Zealand series. Like Mayank Agarwal also, he's an opener, sure, but he can fit in anywhere. Like he will like eat up balls, he'll make sure he will play his part and whatever. But the problem is we have not had, like, because these two have been given such an extended run and they have done pretty well, the fact that like they had to be dropped finally is because there is like, it is finally the returns are not making sense anymore. But because of that run, we have not been able to see as many people pop up. There are people, it's not like there aren't. I think now we start seeing I would like to see who apart from Shreyas Iyer would be there, for example.
Gill. Shubman Gill. I feel like he is going to be...
Oh, I like that.
See, to the point about patience, right? To the point about patience, it's true that the philosophy always was like, if you have a lot of patience, you have patience during the hard time, and then you cash in when it gets a little easier. And I'm saying that has stopped happening. And that has not stopped happening because there is no place for you to cash in. Look at all the bowlers across the world. Like every team has they don't have a single weak link in their bowling. Look at Australia's bowling, look at England's bowling, look at India's bowling, look at South Africa's bowling. Who is your weak bowler? There is no weak bowler. So there's no point for you. There's nothing you can get past to cash in later. So you might as well just forget the whole patience thing and just try to play as consistently as you can. And perhaps that is the new approach. So maybe that kind of a batsman may not exist going forward for a while.
Yeah, I get it. Like inflation is so high that no point doing FD and mutual fund, direct crypto.
So I had to say this. I know that Pujara and Rahane got a long rope, right? I'm reminded of the famous Sidhuism. So the BCCI gave Pujara and Rahane both ends of a long rope and they were drowning. So they pulled each other inside. That's what has happened. What Sidhu used to say is he gave a drowning man both ends of the same rope.
But one drowning man, both ends of the same rope.
Yes, that is the Sidhu joke. This happens when, somebody sells someone down the river and, they are stranded at the same end and all of that. I miss Sidhu, yaar.
Madan's clarification started to sound like one of those H.C. Verma IIT problems. Like one drowning man, two ends of rope. When will the man actually drown? It's like so we've seen a lot of the younger blood talking about batsmen, right? People from the under 19, people from IPL. So Shah Rukh Khan scored almost a 200, 194 for Tamil Nadu. Before that, Yash Dal scored 113 on first class debut. Same match. So I think there's some interesting things there as well, right? I mean, maybe too early for
Pujara
some
scored
of them.
0.
Pujara scored 0. Hey, Vihari scored 100 for Hyderabad.
And Rahane scored 100 as well.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, Chetan Sharma was very clear that he said it some 3 or 4 times that this is not the end of the road for either Pujara or Rahane, and both have been asked. I think all the guys who have been dropped have been asked to go and perform in the Ranji Trophy. Maybe not Saha, I don't know, but he made it very clear that it is just for this series and all of that. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe they will get another final.
It's not the end of the road, it's just the end of the rope. So we should, I guess, talk about what we promised to talk about, which is the whole Saha Gate.
First time those 2 words have been used, in conjunction. Saha Gate.
Saha Gate, yes. Yeah, so basically what happened was, obviously the team is being selected for Sri Lanka, and Wriddhiman Saha basically puts out this tweet, Instagram story, something. He puts out a screenshot basically of an exchange that he had with a journalist. And this is basically a DM exchange, or I think a WhatsApp chat that he's having with a journalist, where the journalist is basically asking for a one-on-one interview, and more or less threatening him, saying that, if you don't agree to this, if you don't do an interview with me, then you will find your access denied. And anyway, Saha came out, and it seems to hint towards an entire murky story where Saha came and said that, Ganguly told me that, perform well and your place is assured for the team. But now we find out he's not in the team. Then all this comes out. The identity of the journalist is still quote unquote unknown. We don't know exactly who it was, but it's all a very murky saga.
Yeah, this whole story is a bit of a bore, yeah. So, there was someone who did some forensic analysis to find out or to suggest who that journalist might be by finding out that, the couple of times that he typed YOU, the word you, as YPU, and there was another journalist, Waipu, it's a Waipu problem, and that there is apparently a journalist who repeatedly types YOU as YPU on social media, and they were trying to join the dots. But, actually Saha scored 60 odd in that first test against New Zealand, which was, pretty much a couple of games back. The problem is you go back a while and, I think the last 50 he scored before that was, I think, in 2017 or 2018 against Sri Lanka. And then you need to go a really long way back before he scored. Unfortunate, he was not really getting too many opportunities, especially with Rishabh Pant coming into his own and all of that.
So I went and looked at Saha and what has been going on. So here is something that I found out. Do you know any guesses on how many tests Saha has played? And how many tests Nayan Mongia has played. Now, for everyone, let me remind you that usually what happens is whenever you get a wicketkeeper, you have 2 people, because wicketkeeper is essentially one of that slots where if you have another person and you're competing with that person, then it starts to become really difficult. But the only time, at least as I keep going back, where India had 1 wicketkeeper and 1 wicketkeeper only, and there's no other wicketkeeper who came in the middle, was Nayan Mongia, who played for India between 1994 to 2001. And during that period, Nayan Mongia played 44 tests for India with 107 dismissals. Any guesses on how many tests Saha has played?
50?
41.
Actually, both of you are close. He's played 40 tests, right? So it may not seem like it, but he's played nearly as many tests as Nayan Mongia has, right? And there's other things that's going for Saha. So if you go back and look at the list of wicketkeepers in India, you see that Nayan Mongia obviously is a wicketkeeper 1994 to 2001. And then for like the next 3 years, India tried out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wicketkeepers, right? Between the period of 1999 to 2002, anyone wants to take like guesses on the 7 wicketkeepers that India tried in that? Really tumultuous period.
Deep Das Gupta,
Das Gupta,
Sabha Karim,
Samir Digay, Sabha Karim 3,
Rahul Dravid.
MSK Prasad
4. No, Rahul Dravid never 4 tests.
No, not tests. This is talking about tests. Let's see.
Ajay Ratra.
Ajay Ratra 5.
I'm doing reverse engineering. I'm not thinking of keepers. I'm thinking of openers. Whoever was pushed up to opening in an Australia series.
Actually, you're right. So you're right. Completely correct. So there's one more person. And I'll give you a hint. Steve
Vikram
was
Rathod,
last
no.
test. No, Steve was last test.
Of course,
Parthiv.
Patel.
Parthiv.
Whose test career spanned 17 years, right? Between
Exactly. And the last person is Vijay Dahiya.
Dahiya, right?
Oh,
right.
Dahiya.
Yeah.
All right. So these are the 7 people they tried out, and then after that, they basically they struggled with this for a bit, and so it flipped between Parthiv Patel and Dinesh Karthik, who makes his debut in 2004, and then finally Dhoni comes into the scene in 2005, and the whole thing gets screwed. So the people who really suffer when Dhoni comes into the scene are actually Parthiv Patel and Dinesh Karthik, who are younger than Dhoni. And who made their debut before him. And because once Dhoni comes along and Dhoni plays all the way up to nearly 2013, 2014, 90 tests, and that's it. From 2014 all the way to Rishabh Pant's debut in 2018, 2019, the only person who was there was Wriddhiman Saha. In fact, very strangely, there's only one other person who became a wicketkeeper for one test, and I'm really astonished to see this name here. I don't know if you know this name.
In after Saha made his debut, is it?
Yes. Okay. So after post
Parthiv
Dhoni,
Patel. Parthiv Patel had one test match.
maybe Parthiv Patel did it. I'm not sure, but there is one person who made his debut and played in that thing. I was quite surprised to see. Just 2015, there was one test where Naman Oja was the wicketkeeper for.
Oh, Naman.
Against Sri Lanka, if I remember right, yeah?
Oza.
So anyway, my larger point is that Saha had a fairly extended run. It's not that he didn't. I mean, the contention is that, he actually Rishabh Pant came along and there's nothing he could have done. I don't think that's necessarily true. He was essentially there as your mainstay for this period. He played 40 tests. His record is almost exactly like Nayan Mongia in terms of dismissals and in terms of averages as well. I think his average is in the 30s, early 30s.
I'd be surprised if Mongia's average was in the 30s. But yeah, it's very possible. I also feel in that era, India played a lot more. Actually, it seems like India didn't play a lot of Test cricket in that period when Mongia.
Yeah, it was very ODI heavy. More of
it was definitely ODI heavy. I think in '98 they played 30 odd or 40 odd ODIs. But also, I think a lot of those Test matches happened at home, and Mongia famously opened in quite a few of those Test matches. And even did well a few times, right? So the problem for Saha was he's proper bridge generation, right? He neither overlapping fully with Dhoni nor with Rishabh Pant, and it's always tough if you're in that mid zone, right? You miss out at both ends. That's what happened.
So I just quickly checked. Nayan Mongia played 44 tests and averages 24. Wow. Okay,
Yeah, that I can believe.
Exactly. That I can
quite
believe.
bad. Okay, with just 106 50s, and Saha has played 40 tests and averages 29 with 306.
But I was going to say that 100 was that double 100 against Australia and that one off in Kotla, right? That was it
was a 150, but yeah, it felt like a double 100 because But this is just the sign of times, right? Your test opener in the 90s, and he, by the way, was your fixture, right? The other opener was a revolving door. You had Sidhu for a while, you had Vikram Rathod for a while.
Yes,
Mongia was the fixed opener, average 24. Currently, your wicketkeeper can't make it into the team, and he averages 30 odd. Right? And Saha is as good a wicketkeeper as Mongia. Probably, it's arguable to say who's a better wicketkeeper. Both are very good wicketkeepers. But yeah, that's just how much Indian cricket has evolved.
Mongia was a big deal in general, right? Like, he was in a TV ad where he was a bowler. Like, he was a wicketkeeper batsman who featured in a TV ad as a bowler. Remember that Foursquare ad where he bowls a Yorker?
Yes.
He does.
Oh, yes.
I remember them rowing the boat. Row your boat.
Like, Wriddhiman Saha hasn't been in a print ad also, by the way.
Okay, who can name the four? That's because
I can name the 4 squares in Foursquare. Sorry, please go.
Go for it.
Nothing. Square 1, square 2, square 3, square 4. What did you expect?
Hey, alongside Mongia, there were 3 other luminaries, and I think Foursquare just didn't have the biggest superstars, right? I think it was a budget brand or whatever. Who can name the other 3 players who appeared in that ad where they're rowing a boat?
Sounds like a job for Ajit Agarkar.
No, this was actually in the pre-Agarkar era.
Yeah,
It was Sanjay Manjrekar, Venkatesh Prasad. Not Prabhakar. There was Mongia. There was not Prabhakar. There was Mongia, Manjrekar, Prasad, and one more guy. Probably Sabha Karim, I think. Definitely not Prabhakar. I think Prabhakar's stock had fallen by then. His career was actually over by
Amazing.
96.
Yeah, that's how you really balance a side. One batsman, one military medium, and 2 wicket keepers. It's great.
That's how you balance a boat.
Boat, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like there's no problem with change of guard. Like if the team wants to go a certain way, that's fine. But this is the second or third time in a row where in the present management the player is feeling slighted, or is being visibly, like publicly, it's looking like something has not gone down in terms of messaging. Right. First is full Kohli speculation. We don't like. He said. Oh, Ganguly said no. I asked him to stay. Then Kohli comes out and says no, bro. Like I never had any call with him or whatever. Like it's just like this team is not able to do handovers like properly. Like you're not able to tell the next person why. Like they're not able to have these like adult conversations. It feels very funny. So I don't think the Saha like being dropped would be as much of an issue. Like if he was actually, or at least he didn't feel as slighted as he did. Like why is Ganguly telling? Like it's speculation that Ganguly apparently spoke to Saha and said that as long as I am in the BCCI, you will always be a wicketkeeper or something. That is apparently the quote, right? In the in the Times. Like why is Ganguly interfering here? Like who is he to make such promises? Like it's like so if I was Saha, it makes full sense to get slighted. Like if I'm being told such things, like why am I suddenly being dropped from the team then? Why is like Dravid telling me I'm not? Apparently Dravid told him that like we're moving on, we're looking on from you or something. Like why is that the case? Sorry, there's an Idli guy, enthusiastic Idli guy is making like proper
He's just an Italy enthusiast. Like.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the IPL theme. Okay.
I know.
It's actually really hard to sing the IPL theme. Can any of you try to sing the IPL theme? It's actually really hard to do it. Okay, it's not particularly hard to do. Let's continue.
No, but this communication point, cause you're right. You're completely correct. It's about basically about how do you deal with things. Like they don't treat it like a professional thing. Yeah. They don't treat it like, oh, this is professional, so you should have a professional. And I mean, of course, it's really bad in India, but it's not. It's also equally bad in other places as well. Like look at what's happening with Anderson and Broad as well. So they were supposed to say, oh, we are dropping them, but then they said, oh, we're going to tell you a little later. It's pretty evident that they told them like. They just like 5 minutes before putting the press release saying, oh, by the way, we are not picking you guys. And they are also like, we don't know why, we don't know what's going on. So this ability to not have an adult conversation.
No, I'm going to say this, right? I don't know of a single cricketer whose career has ended on a happy note, right? There is always, that keenness for them to continue, do a little more, because that's all they've done all their life. And it's a change of guard, right? It's the end of their career. They have their entire life ahead of themselves, and their connection to the sport is sort of ending. Nobody is happy when it happens, right? You can plenty of examples, right? The guys who actually, the players who have had happy retirements are those who took that call and said, you know what, I could probably drag this out another 4 months, 5 months, try it. But you know what, I just want to go out with my dignity. I want to do this one last time and go, right? Those are and even that is a compromise, right? And most players, most of them are not superstars. No, not everyone has the I would say, the liberty to go out on their own terms. It's unfortunate for people like Saha, etc. So it's never easy, right? These guys are alphas, right? If you've become a cricketer in India, you've become one of the best 11 people doing one of the most sought after things in the country, and you've done it for a few years. It's very tough to suddenly say, you're not good enough to do it.
I still think, I side with what PGK was saying, and the unfortunate part of that is also that there have been articles now written about how selection itself, at least at the lower levels, like that feeds in, right, into the national team, has gotten so much more professional. Like, you have more selectors spreading out and watching matches, you have more scouts, you have, all the feeders through the NCA, all that stuff, right? And then this step at the top screws it up even more then, right? If you're not able to have this adult conversation, as PGK said, right, with people, and Nitin, bringing in the points you were saying about, these are all alphas, nobody wants to hang up their hat, voluntarily. But the most disappointing thing in this whole thing is you would expect someone like Ganguly to be able to have this damn conversation. Like, the guy is not a bureaucrat. The guy has been a cricketer. I mean, all the circumstances around his own sort of retirement / being forced out of the team and all that, you would expect him to have some sensitivity to this kind of thing, right? I mean, we don't know all the facts, obviously. It'll come out, right? But I think that's the most disappointing part of this whole thing to me.
So part of the problem is that Ganguly, at this stage, it's not clear what he sees himself as, right? Given his office, he he can't be going and saying things like this to players because there are selectors who decide who gets
Yeah.
to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he is not at all involved in the selection process. He should not be involved in the selection process. So him going and making a promise of this kind doesn't make sense anyway.
Do you remember the series that happened just after the 96 World Cup? It was called the Singer Cup.
Singer Cup. Oh
Where
man.
Yes. Where the boundary was like the size of my bedroom. Okay,
Yeah,
literally. It was just like...
Singer Cup. Although actually going back to last week's discussion, same thing, right? With Sharjah, and same with this also. You go back and look at it, you're like, what is the size of these things? But even in that era, even in the 90s, the Singer Cup, like that Singapore ground just looked so small. It was like, what is this? What's going on?
And you're unleashing Jayasuriya over there. It was like terrible. It was
No,
like
I think the
crazy to watch.
Singer Cup was basically PTSD on steroids. I think especially if you were like an Indian fan, you'd already had Eden Gardens, right? Sri Lanka were champions. And then Jayasuriya and Kalu come out and start smashing us. Not just that, you had Ataur Rahman and the entire Pakistan squad also like lighting into us. Like it was insane. Singer Cup was like peak PTSD.
Pakistan won that final, right? They scored
Yes.
170.
Yes.
Jayasuriya hit the fastest 50 in one-day history in the chase.
17 balls.
And then Sakline got them out.
Saki got them.
They won by around 20 runs. Typical
Was that
90s.
also the series that Afridi made his debut?
No, that was in Nairobi.
Afridi was 97. Singer was right after the World
97,
Cup.
the year after that.
Yeah.
Singer was right at the World Cup. You're right. You're completely correct about the PTSD. I remember the PTSD vividly. But I seem to remember that Afridi was also there, but maybe it was the year after.
Like when you say like Singapore Cup and Singapore and all, in my head, like I know what I saw, but I'm also imagining the Hong Kong sixes.
Yeah. Oh man, that was
Right?
fun too. Hong
Like,
Kong sixes
it's
was.
where like you'll have to retire after like scoring 30. And like Tendulkar came and smashed around, like batting practice for him. No, he played one.
Did Tendulkar play?
He played I think one match. I don't remember. One match he
yeah.
played, I think. Yeah. He
I
came,
think
smashed around.
India never did well in that Super Sixes. They used to send Jadeja, Robin Singh and Mongia. So this another throwback to Nayan Mongia today. And they would never do well. They would always like lose to the other teams. The other teams would just smash in that.
It's interesting. There was an entire continuum of different odd kinds of cricket things. There was cricket, the Super Sixes. There was Cricket Max, if anyone remembers that. There was French cricket, which was that whole weird thing of you hit it.
Cricket with a K.
Cricket with a
Yeah, there was cricket with a K.
cricket with a K.
Sidhu and Ajay Jadeja. Jadeja
Yeah.
did everything except play normal
what was the
cricket
thing with
properly.
Chris Srikanth and some? There was
That's
another
called
show.
IPL. Da.
IPL Tamil commentary. That's what it is.
No, there was another one with Chris Srikanth as this thing. Again, it's very similar to cricket with a K, but it was like two people and one of them was Chris.
Have you guys heard of this version called Full Toss? Like it used to be the show on it. So it used to be this show on Hangama. Okay, like this kids, the kids channel back in the day, and the show was called Full Toss, and it was fully televised highlights of 10-over games played in an indoor stadium with
Yeah, I've
like
seen
crowd
this.
and whatever, right? And Parthiv Patel was the captain for one of the teams. Okay, and like
It's
they
clearly
had,
children's programming.
so they had. So they had like how we have in like gully cricket, like you have 2D, like 2 runs here, 1 run here, whatever. You had to run between the wickets, but like they also had an 8, okay, where like if the ball, there were these 2 points on the field where if the ball goes, I think it was the logo of the tournament, where like if the ball goes right into it, then you get an 8 straight away. And like Parthiv Patel for time pass, he's just hitting there only the whole time, like he's hitting straight runs that's going just straight there into the logo, like.
I have to say, when he said full toss, I heard as ulta chashma. It sounds like, same kind of.
Parthiv Patel ka full toss chashma.
So
No, like maybe that will be the Gujarat Titans logo. It's going to be this giant thing that they're going to put on the ground for people to aim at. Okay.
Parthiv Patel's face, dude, he's actually a Gujarati.
he's going to come lie down. Parthiv Patel himself will come and lie down as the logo wherever you need it. It's like
And a Titan watch. Wearing upside down glasses. Because it is ulta chashma. I have one question. I have a bit of trivia for the group. Fill in the blanks. Gilchrist, Dhoni, blank, Ben Stokes.
Is it some actual cricket thing or is some random joke?
No, it's a proper one. Adam Gilchrist, MS Dhoni, dash, Ben Stokes.
Gilchrist, Dhoni, blank, Ben Stokes.
I'll give you a clue. It's someone we spoke about earlier today.
Finals of
Don't say
World
Nayan Mongia,
Cups.
bugger.
Oh,
Finals
World Cup
of
final.
World Cups. Finals of World Cup.
So then 2015.
Man of the match and World Cup finals.
Okay,
2015.
I don't actually
Our
remember.
Chandelier Breaker, guys. The Chandelier Breaker.
Faulkner.
Oh, yeah, the
fuck.
Chandelier Breaker was the man of the Faulkner.
Yes,
The
yes.
peak of
James
James Faulkner's career, right?
Yes, yes, correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very nice.
The 2015 World Cup is completely blanked out. It's just one of those World Cups where you don't remember anything from beginning to end.
I definitely
All I remember is AB de Villiers hitting many fastest 50s against West Indies in the same innings. I think he scored 150. Every 50 was faster than the previous 50. Like if you look at the record of fastest 50s, I think he scored the fastest 50 just of Jason Holder. I think it was a turning point in Jason Holder's career also. He conceded some 34 runs or something in 4 balls or some shit like that. Since then, he's been a better cricketer. James Faulkner,
I think the only thing I remember for 2015 is just how the size of the New Zealand grounds. Like there was that whole 30-yard circle boundary, that thing. Like it was just insane. But yeah, no, I think
Which is that some tweet was there, no? Like
AB
there's 30
Van,
yard
world
circle.
famous tweet. Oh man, I can't find that tweet. It's gone. It's deleted. I keep bugging him every month. Tweet is basically New Zealand cricket ground, pitch, 30-yard circle, boundary, international boundary. Maritime boundary. It's just, yeah. But anyway. Okay. And that wraps it up for this episode of Bits and Pieces. You can find some of our panelists today on Twitter. Nitin is at Nitins, like Knight Riders. KNITTINS. PGK is at PGK, PEEGEEKAY, spelling it out. Madan is at Abhishek Madan, and I am at Cartographer without the vowels, KRTGRPHR. You can also find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and YouTube. Signing off, thank you for listening to us. This is Bits and Pieces.
You're listening to the Bits and Pieces podcast. Subscribe, give us feedback, and
Listen to it.
listen to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?